Hello and welcome to the Rachel Ray Show. Thank you for joining us. And also joining us is Anjali Shutt to talk about orphanages in Asia. Welcome and thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. So let's just jump right into it. What exactly are the causes of orphanages?
Great question. So it's hard to determine what one cause of a child being in an orphanage could be. There are many causes. However, research has found that the main cause of orphanages is poverty. Many children and families are living in poverty, and when a child is living in poverty, the family might give that child up for adoption and place them in an orphanage so that they can get the necessary needs for life, such as education, shelter, food, that the family may not have been able to give them. Other things that may cause them to be in an orphanage could be, unfortunately, UNICEF has found that they are taken against their will, sold to orphanages, sold to sex trades, sometimes broken families as well, such as the families are abusing drugs or in abusive relationships, and therefore they're placed into orphanages as well.
Wow. So what exactly is the prevalence of this orphanages in general?
It's shockingly pretty prevalent. According to the worldwide children's statistics, it's estimated that there's about 140 million children worldwide that are orphans. So talking specifically about Asia, that's 87.6 million of those orphans are right there in Asia. So it's pretty prevalent.
Yeah, wow. And this leads me to ask, so where exactly does this occur? Is this happening all over? Is this just, only in Asia?
It occurs all over the world, Rachel Ray. Thank you for asking that question.
Yeah.
So it occurs all over the world. It's happening all the time. UNICEF defines an orphan as a child that is under the years of 18 years old, has lost one or both parents to any cause of death. Later, that definition was then expanded to say parents who have relinquished their rights to the child. By definition, it is very evident to see that orphanages can be all over the world.
Wow. So what exactly, we know they're all over. We know it's a problem, but also what are the impacts that they have?
So specifically talking about orphanages in Asia, the impacts that we see for children in orphanages is there's typically 2 or more children in a crib. So that's very tight, closed space. There's not a lot of movement for them to grow and develop in that crib. Even the weight of the crib is really heavy, and unfortunately the cribs can break, which is obviously very dangerous. And even just being confined to small, tight areas in that crib can really cause a spread of germs. And speaking of germs, oftentimes there's lack of medical care. Children tend to be malnourished and underweight. Infants lack tummy time. So basically that just means when they're playing on their stomach. So when they're lacking that tummy time, it's really hard for children to grow and develop. So the reason why children in orphanages tend not to be on their stomach, well, one, that could be just because it's not clean. Cleanliness is an issue in orphanages. But also it's just easier for caregivers to keep them in the cribs throughout the day. So when they're lacking the tummy time, it can stunt development of the child and overall fine, gross, and motor skills. Children living in orphanages may also experience issues with attachment, bonding, and neglect. Children who come from families of abuse, whether it be physical, mental, drug abuse, they can also experience implications of this as well. So you can see that throughout their life. Orphanages in Asia especially are really in desperate need and are lacking equipment and tools to help them be proper orphanages and great orphanages for the children that we have in them. So tools could be the crib that I was talking about that can hold the children, toys, walkers, the medical care. So they're really lacking that. Right now we have brought Henry, our little Henry from the orphanage in Asia. Would you like to hold him?
Oh, thank you. Oh,
yeah.
Super
So
cute.
Henry lacks toys. These are some blocks that you typically see, but only 3 blocks, and we have about 150 to 200 children in the orphanage with very minimum caregivers. So that is Henry. He is about 5-6 months old, rarely on his stomach, rarely doing tummy time. So our little Henry right here.
Yeah, well, we'll certainly be getting some tummy time in after the show here. But just a couple more questions for you. So, how exactly is this health concern related to occupational justice?
Sure. So, occupational justice is basically affording children and anyone, people with disabilities, humans, adults, anyone worldwide, the ability to have opportunities and access to everything that anyone's able to have. And children in orphanages especially do not have that opportunities. They often face occupational injustice. So they lack the opportunities that other children may face. So these children are typically not able to access or obtain the same equipment that other children do. So like I talked about earlier, the toys, the medical care, that's often things that they cannot afford or have the access to. They also have limited access to participation in sports and organized social participation, and therefore the children's daily occupations suffer. They are simply just not able to play and interact the way another child may be able to do. Orphanages are just such a great place for occupational therapists to work in. There is such a great need for children to be able to increase the amount of play they're doing, and for occupational therapists to just be there and make sure they're developing properly. So for the question about occupational justice, you really do see injustice in orphanages because of the lack of opportunities that the children are facing.
Yeah, it sounds like a real opportunity to get some occupational therapists in there.
Definitely.
Thank you so much for joining us. I just want to give you, one last minute. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, this was great. Thank you very much for having us, and I appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, you heard it here first on the Rachel Ray Show. Thank you for joining us, and we'll be right back after this commercial break.